Hello, Pixifi fans. Tony Cooper here once again with part 2 of our tutorial series covering the Products 2.0 products module in Pixifi. Now, when we last left off, we had done kind of an overview of the whole thing, the entire new setup, how you're going to use things, what it looks like, all that fun stuff. And what we're going to do in this one is we're going to continue moving forward by going through some of the basics of product templates. One of the things that I think is important here is the more you know about how the new product templates automation stuff works, I think it's going to be better off for you in the long run, obviously. But it's also going to be better for you in other areas of Pixifi because there are workflows, there are pipelines, there are visualizers, and that stuff is throughout Pixifi. There are event statuses, lead statuses, project statuses, and now product statuses. And I think understanding more about product statuses, which are a bit simpler overall, product statuses and product workflows overall are less complex than things like lead statuses and workflows, project statuses and workflows. They're a bit simpler, but they set a foundation for you to understand other areas of Pixifi and how those things work. So let's get right into it here. We're in part 2, the basics of product templates, and I want to move forward by asking the question, why should you use product templates and their automation elements? First of all, think of it in another term. If you go to create an invoice, right, and you're creating it by hand, you're typing in everything on the invoice item lines one at a time, and you're just, entering things. This is $100, this is $250, whatever it is that you're ordering. Or if you're using one of the external pricing programs, you are downloading that invoice into Pixifi and letting Pixifi take care of the processing of the invoice for whatever automation purposes you have, whether you want to keep everything together or whether you are going to have or add automation, whether you want to use the payment terms and reminders, whether you want to use the invoice reminders in Pixifi, whatever your reasons, having some level of automation is so much better, I think, than just having, well, here's an invoice, I typed it up and sent it out. Well, if you could have a system like the product template system where a lot more of that was automated, you would have a better time of it. So setting up just the product templates alone saves you some typing. It saves you remembering what price you quoted to someone because you can always have that information right there in Pixifi. And now there's a new element of automation and workflow and tracking and monitoring what's going on with some of your most popular products or ones that have a higher level of use, I guess, for lack of a better term. So let's take a look here. You use product templates because they are you're adding now tracking and status management. You're adding automation and follow-up. You're adding creative use of a more stable visualization of your most used items. And that's a mouthful because it's everything that you've ever wanted to know about where your best or biggest products are, where they are in either a manufacturing process or in a design process or even in a distribution and delivery process. So there's just a world of complication here that you can minimize to some degree by having a better handle on where things are. So, of course, you're going to add pipelines and visualizers, as well as an instant view of your product monitor. Okay. What can you do with them? Well, you can set up product templates in such a way that you can send emails and SMS, text messages, to your clients, to staff, to other people. You can send questionnaires to your clients and staff. Maybe these are customization options. You can switch the status of a product progress so that either your client can see the progress, your staff can see the progress, you can see the progress, and you can get a better handle on where things are. Marking products as finished without changing the product status. So you can mark a product as finished, ready for delivery. You can set up and execute Zapier triggers based solely on a product. I mean, you couldn't do that before. If somebody ordered a certain thing and it's always a fixed thing, maybe you have a Zap set up in your system where you can send an order directly to a manufacturer for this product. So that's a good option to have. There's tasking for staff, for vendors. There are phase actions in there as well in your workflows. So plan your workflow. Planning your workflow is more or less paramount, and you want to mix these. The planning of your workflows with the planning of your statuses. Now, some people haven't taken advantage of statuses just yet. Event statuses, lead status, project status, now product status. They haven't taken advantage of them because it adds such a heavy layer for you to work through. But we're going to work through this together, step at a time, and I'm going to walk you through each of how this will work best. So what would you normally do if somebody ordered this item? So that's part of your workflow, right? How long would it take to complete? Does this product depend on the creation or acquisition of other products? Now, that's key because there are elements in here that will help you plan that. Who is responsible for these actions? Who's responsible for the production, execution, or distribution of whatever product or service that you're going to put in as one of these new templates? And what do you want to happen at the end? Do you want to contact the client right away? Do you want to contact a staff member and say, hey, you need to get on this? There's just a myriad of things that you can do here. So remember that workflows can be created for each new product, and that is essential to remember. You can manage workflows through the visualizer. You can build out your workflow concept for each new product. It doesn't matter how big or small. Everything can have a new workflow now. Don't go overboard though. If it's something simple, let's say that you're selling tongue depressors. Do you really need a product workflow for tongue depressors? Okay, maybe you do. I don't know. That's your life. And does this product qualify as a physical item or not? Now, why is that a critical question? Because remember, a product, like we talked about in the first tutorial, is a thing. Okay? And things can have some kind of automation life if they are a product that requires perhaps customization, fulfillment, distribution, installation, whatever it is. Okay, so there's a lot of possibilities here. We are going to go right over here to Pixifi, and I'd like to remind you a couple of things in here about Pixifi from the first tutorial. The Products tab is the first tab that you will have in your system, and you can have just a great view here. Now filters, you can have all your product types, of course. You can filter your products by status if you want to. the start date and due date, when they began in production, when they are due. You can also just set it so you're only seeing unfinished products, and you can set for just things were finished during a certain period. So all those filters are available, but we're going to get more into that a little bit later. For now, we're going to talk about your products tab and what you see here. So this is the name of the product as it exists in your product templates tab. Right, so here is your product template name. This is the status of what's going on right now. So I have 3 products in here. They're all the same product, but this one is waiting to produce. This one is in post-production. This one is in production. When they were started, there's those 3 different dates there, and when they are due. Okay, so you have a due date in here. Due date is not a mandate, but it does help you keep track of things like your automation elements when a specific item is due. And you'll see more of that when we get over to workflows. And the owner of it is where it came from. Okay, so this one came from a project called Window Shoot. This one came from an event called New. And this one came from a project called Test Project 2020. Okay, so before we get started, we're going to go in here and we are going to delete existing products that we have in our system because we want to start fresh. I want to work from a fresh slate with you guys so that you know where everything is. Okay, so what we would do at this point is we would have nothing in our product pipeline and no products, nothing in our product pipeline. We are even going to delete all of our statuses because I want to set those things up with you, and we're going to walk through a whole new status array for our products with you so that you have a better concept of how these new statuses can actually help you. Now I'm going to leave this one in here, finished or complete, because you always want to have one that you're done setting it up. So let's add some statuses that make sense to specifically to our normal production process. Okay, so a new status. I'm going to set this all up for my portrait brand, and the product type. The product type is a required element, and this particular product type is going to be a wedding album. Okay, so this wedding album, or the internal name for this status, okay, this one is going to be client placed order. It can be the same thing over in the client portal, and I'm going to start at the top with my colors. And I'm just going to say this is good right here. And we will have a text color that is white. And we're just going to avoid using any automation actions right now. We're just going to set up our statuses. Now we can reorder statuses. So when I'm done, I'm going to move finished complete down to the bottom. We're going to add a couple of more statuses here, actually several more. But you can see that why product type is going to be so important, because when you are in here in your pipeline, for instance, you can set up your view so that you can say it's only those product or only those statuses with a product type of whatever you decide to select. So we only have the one right now that we've set up, and we're going to go back to our product statuses. We are going to make sure that we selected wedding album for this, and we did. And then we are going to add the rest of our statuses for this wedding album. I may fast forward this because I'm going to add quite a few, but I will see you in just a minute here after I get these done. All right, so we're going to go in and reorder these statuses so that they are in the proper order here. Move that one down, save the new order, and these are our product statuses now. And these are the ones that we're going to use for this particular sample. I'm going to create additional samples as we go along. But for this one, this is our album status. Okay, so you can create other statuses. You can if you are going to have it by product type and you want to be reminded that it's for a specific product type. For example, if you have a product type that you want to manage that is image files, maybe you want to create a naming convention that has the word image in brackets or something like that. And this would be something like send to client. And that would be when you save that. Well, let's give it a color here. This is sort of a gray with a black text. And if you have something like that, and you already know that its product type is not specifically wedding album related, when we refresh this after we've added all those statuses, remember that under the pipeline, we specifically said that we only wanted types that were for wedding album. So what's going to happen is all of these are going to refresh so that we can see only the ones we set up with the product type of wedding album. We'll just switch to all product types for now. But here they are. So you can see it has wedding album right here, and you can see that our status on here is not. You don't have the status there for the image files. Okay, so you just have the ones for wedding album, and these are the ones that don't have any brand assigned. We're going to go under our statuses. We're going to add the brand on this, and we're even going to add the type because we only want this available for wedding album for right now. Remember, you can customize the name of your the names of your statuses to accommodate maybe what product it's for or something like that. And don't forget to refresh when you do your product statuses. And you update them as you go, don't forget to refresh so that you can see a fresh pipeline. And here is everything for wedding album, and here is everything for image files. Okay, so the one we're using right now, for this one is just wedding albums. Okay, so we're only going to select wedding album. Okay, so that's all you see here. That's all you're going to get in this particular view. This one is set up for all product types, but it's showing you only the statuses specific to the image files at this point. All right, so we'll refresh this again just to get back to where we were. And so in your statuses, as you saw as I was building these, you saw that there was an opportunity for additional automation. Let's talk about that right quick. The top part here is how it appears, where it goes and where it appears in your pipeline. And then there are automation opportunities. Now, obviously, if you have workflow templates that you've already set up, then you maybe have something for your album product workflow. And we're going to create workflows in the next tutorial, but I want to get you prepared for this because there's some interesting things going on. But when there is a new client order placed, you may want to engage a workflow and then change the status. Okay. Or maybe you want your workflow to change the status for you. So you're going to have that flexibility. But what you want to do with your statuses, if you decide to use them, is make them logical for each particular product type. Okay, so when we come back to the pipeline here, you can see we're going to switch this to compact mode. It just gives you more compressed columns. When you have your products in here, you're going to be able to see everything that's going on just for this product type. Okay, and remember there's no limit to the number of products types you can have. You can have hundreds or thousands. And underneath that, you can have different sets of product templates. And I think the best part of that particular thing is that when you have these different product types, that you can be very specific, you can be very narrow, and you can even narrow down the product templates within those product types. So you can be very specific. Let's talk about building workflows that complement a product's life. All right, so let's go over, now that we've got our status set up, and we're going to go back to our product templates later to take advantage of some of these statuses and some of the other stuff, automation that we're going to set up. But before we do that, we need to understand our strategy for setting up our workflows, okay? And here's why that is relevant. All right, so when you're building workflows for your products, you need to make sure that the workflow setup that you build is going to fulfill either the life of the status that you are working with, or it's going to fulfill the entire life of the development of that product. Okay, and this is one that I pre-set up. We're going to build another one together. This is a legacy album, or is called the legacy album, and this is the first thing that gets done, and it is the advice that goes to the client, or I'm sorry, to the staff member, and says, hey, this album has been ordered. Okay, so the notification goes out to a staff member. If you remember the status, and I'm going to open that up in another window here for you so that you're not confused. We have a product status that says client placed order. All right, so when the client has placed the order and this workflow starts, the staff gets notified. So what do you think we should do next? I think we should add a switch status to staff advised of product orders, and when to switch is 0 days after the workflow is applied. Okay, and the reason why is because the text message and the email go out on the same day. All right, so we want to, let's reorder these so they look a little bit more in the order that we want to see them. So this is going to go up under here, save that. And now these two things happen. A text message goes out to the staff, an email goes out to the staff, and then the status gets changed to staff advised of product orders. I think a number of you probably just heard a bell ring and it said, oh, I know how that would work in my system. I know how that would help me. But let's go back over here to the statuses. Okay, so staff, the next status that we have in order here is staff responded to product order. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that it is something that you need to do anything with here in the workflow, okay, but you could, okay, and I'll explain that once we get a little bit more heavily into workflows, which is in the next tutorial. For this one, I want you to understand the relationship between workflows and tutorials. I'm sorry, between workflows and statuses. Sometimes I need to just make these as short as possible so I can stop talking. But if we go back to workflow templates real quick, we're just going to create a new one. We're going to add a new workflow, and this is going to be product wedding album. And what was our status over here? Our status was staff responded. Okay, staff response. And this is going to go under our wedding category just for the moment. All right. So what we can do here is, let's say we're going to add an email and we're going to make it a new email. And this is going to be, well, actually, you know what? Let's make it a text message. We're going to cancel this. We're going to add a text message. And we are going to call this album legacy staff responded. All right, and we're going to say staff acknowledged. Yikes. The new album order for, and if we're doing this right, we're going to say that this is for this product item, which is not in this list, and of course it's not in this list because I wanted it to be, but we're just going to say it's for this person. Okay, we're going to say it's for that. All right, and that's our text message. We're going to say this is 0 days after the workflow is applied. All right, workflow is applied is important here because this workflow only will start if that status is changed. Okay, we're gonna show you that in a minute. This is going to go to staff members. Save. Okay, so a staff member will be notified when this happens. We're going to jump out of this, go back over here to our statuses, and we're going to set under the status, we're going to select, oh, you know what, I think I didn't, this needs to be a product. Okay, so when you're doing this, you want to make sure this is a product status. And then over here, under your products and services, you're going to open up your products and services status. So you're going to open up the one that says staff responded to product order, and you're going to select staff response workflow. All right, there's no auto switch for this right now. We're just going to save this, and here's what's going to happen. So let's go back to our original workflow, and we'll just open up another tab for that so that we can kind of keep everything in view. We have our full legacy workflow, okay, and this goes through to here. So these three things will occur, and this status will get switched. Nothing else happens until that status gets switched again to staff responded to product order. Well, how does that happen? Well, you know how that happens. Okay, it happens in the product pipeline. Okay, so let's refresh this so we can see where our stuff is in the product pipeline. So we have client placed an order, staff advised of order, staff responded. Okay, so if your staff responded, you go to the product pipeline here, okay, and you drag this item that was ordered from advised over to responded. And what happens immediately is this workflow takes place, and a text message goes out to whomever is part of the product scenario, whether it's from a project or whether it's from an event, and it advises them that the staff responded. And what I'm looking for in this particular status scenario is I want the staff to be advised that something new has happened. So let's go back over to our statuses, and we can see that the next thing is the product was ordered. So now we're waiting to hear back from the staff again on whether or not the product was ordered. And how do we do that? Well, here we are back in our staff, our workflow that is specific for staff response. So after the status has been, or after the text message has been sent, You can even update it. Okay, you can even update it automatically to the next status. But we're going to add a phase, and that phase is order the album. And that is due 1 day after the workflow is applied. I'm going to save that. And then we're going to add a task. And that's going to be a studio task for whomever you can assign. And it's going to be order legacy album. And you'll have some instructions in here. We're just going to say blah, blah, blah for the moment because it's going to depend on a lot of specific information that we'll have to dig up for the legacy album. Now, this is, of course, appears as a task. Okay, so a task is created that says order the legacy album, and it is assigned to Tony, and it is you have the instructions on how to do that. Apparently here it's blah, blah, blah. But after this is completed, you want to once again update your status. You want to switch your product status. And that new status is product ordered from manufacturer, because this task is to order the album. The next status is that the product has been ordered. Fabulous, right? That's so happy. Now, let's go back to our statuses. Oops, this is our status page. And now, under product ordered from manufacturer, what are you going to do? Well, there's nothing you can do here, right, except apply a workflow. Well, what can you do in workflows? In workflows, you can send emails. Okay, so let's go back to our workflow templates. And let's just go ahead and duplicate this one so that we have an ongoing similarity between how these things look. So this is going to be product wedding album, and this is going to be product ordered. Okay, we're just going to let that rock and roll here, and we're going to delete this email, and we're going to add a new email, and this is going to be new. Oops. And this is going to be album legacy album ordered for client. Your album is at the lab. And we're going to say, hi, contact one first. Sometimes it's faster for me to type it than it is to find it on the list, so I just do it that way. We just wanted to let you know that your oh my word, your album has been ordered from the lab, and we will keep you apprised of the ongoing status as the manufacturing progresses. All right, so that's all we're going to send to them. We're not going to get elaborate. We'll just let the automatic signatures, and we're going to do this 1 day after. Wait a minute. Oh, this is an automatic item. Never mind. So we're going to do this 1 day or 0 days, the same day as the workflow is applied, because it's being sent to clients. Because the reason why it's going out is because the product has been ordered. Okay, remember, product has been ordered. Tell the client, and after it's been ordered, or I'm sorry, the product has been ordered. The client gets notified, and after the client has been notified, do we want to switch the status again? How many statuses do we have? What do we have? We have client or product ordered from manufacturer. All right, so it should probably sit in that status until we get notification from the lab, right? Okay, so the product schedule, our next status is project is scheduled for build. Well, we don't know that yet. Okay, so all we know is this, and we're just going to delete this entire phase because it doesn't apply to this workflow. But it does apply to this status. So now under this status, product ordered from manufacturer, you have a workflow. Oops, I didn't update that. That's my bad. So let's go over here, product order. We got to update the template name. Don't forget to update the template name like I just did after you've changed anything about the name of a template, which is just these three fields here, okay? So we're going to go back over here. Product order from manufacturer status is a project or product status. We're going to click on that. And we're going to go down here to auto apply a workflow template, which is the product ordered. Okay. So the product order workflow is going to take place, and boom. So what we have here now, client placed the order. Yay, client placed the order. When the client has placed the order, what did we do originally? The client placed the order. We engaged the album, the legacy album full workflow. Okay. Staff advised to product orders, which came out of here. And when you get information back from the staff to say, yep, we got that, then you get the response, the staff response. And then once that has switched to the product has been ordered, according to the staff, then an email goes out to the client. Remember, that says, hey, we ordered your album. All right, so we're going to stop here in this tutorial. And the reason is because it's already, say, 45 minutes or so long. And I want to stop because that's enough. Well, I really wanted to make sure that you understood in this particular tutorial had everything to do with product statuses, okay, and how they can be utilized to automate the progress of your order, your item, your product with workflows. Okay, we're going to talk more about automating things within the product templates and using product categories a little bit more efficiently. But we're going to do that in the next tutorial. So this is the end of part 2. Go look through some of your product template stuff and think about which ones could be automated and how. And while you're doing that, what types can they be? Because remember, the ones that I set up were all for a single type of product. And remember that there are no limit to the product types. So if you want to track a single type of item, let's say you want to track a piece of wood that is 12 inches wide, okay? All 12-inch wide pieces of wood can have their own type. Okay, all you have to decide is what kind of wood it is. Maybe it's hickory, maybe it's oak, whatever it is. Walnut, that's a nice oak or a nice wood, right? You can set up a flow, a status flow for a specific product type. And then on top of that, your product can drive the entire thing. Can you see how my excitement over this update is so big? And the reason why it's so big is because there is so much you can do. And I'm giving you a little taste of it. And as these tutorials progress, this is only the second one. There's still so much more to cover and so many more examples I want to give you. I have a litany of examples of how we're going to go through things. And we're going to go through a couple of them together. If you see this and you have an idea but you're not sure how it would work, I want you to contact me. I want you to say, here's what I want to do. How can we put this together? And we'll do it together. Okay, because I know this is daunting. There's a lot of stuff here that's not part of the normal event workflow and status workflow, the normal lead status and workflow, and the normal project status and workflow. There are several other elements involved here. How it gets started, how it's implemented, and where it comes from. And we haven't even gotten into that part yet, but we're going to. Okay. On our upcoming, so remember all your statuses, go look at some of your products that could potentially have a method by which you can use them. And in our next tutorial, we're going to cover creating product workflows. It seems like I just did, but we're going to go all the way through that entire set. Okay, and then we're going to explore packages, invoices, and what the like, especially with what we just created. Packages contain products, invoices contain product IDs. Oh my goodness, so many things. And then we're going to talk about managing booking pages and managing proposals and the ramifications of using these modules even more with background automation. And then managing the products 2.0 with the visual tools, using the visualizer for workflow and the pipeline for your statuses, and of course the product monitor itself, which is a great snapshot. And then all the scenarios that I've set up and all the practical application and how it applies. We're going to explore beyond photographer, because a lot of Pixifi, as many of you know, was originally developed for photographers and other creatives. Well, there are a lot of other industries out there that are getting into Pixifi because they're going, this thing is really flexible, so it can really apply to anything. And a lot of the little elements of just photographer only stuff is being migrated into you choose. You decide how it lays out. So if we have other scenarios, those are the ones that I'm going to explore for you. We are going to move on to the next tutorial. And we're working on that now. I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.